Hello YouTube, this is Galway Yu-Gi-Oh here, and this is a brand new deck profile. This time I'm bringing you Brilliant PEPE, which as you probably already know is the insertion of Brilliant Fusion into the Performapal Pendulum deck. Now what does Brilliant Fusion do in this deck? Well, it sends a Master and a Lazuli from your deck to your graveyard to special summon a Seraphonite. Then Lazuli's effect will add a normal monster from your graveyard to your hand. So that Master that you just sent to summon Seraphonite gets added back to your hand, generating hand advantage. Seraphonite is now in your field, generating field advantage, and you also get an extra normal summon that turn, which in pendulum summons in pendulum decks, may not seem like a great deal, but it actually is, because you could do things like, normal summon Joker, make this play with all your pendulum summons and do all those silly things, and still have your normal summon to normal something like X-Saber Palamuru to make an Intoria Beast, or normal summon a Fossil Dyna after all your plays are done in order to shut your opponent's board down after you've already special summoned everything, or summon something like Second Donkey to get another search that turn, which is all great and all very good plays. Before I get into the deck profile itself, I'd like to thank everyone who subscribed, because I'm now at 100 subscribers, which means quite a lot to me. I was very happy that I got up to 100 and hope I can keep rising and keep up with my one deck profile every weekend. And I also want to say I did top locals today. First place, undefeated, only 4 rounds though, so it's nothing to brag about. And I played PEPE, the Ariadne build, not this one. And that went great. Ariadne build is probably the weakest build, and it didn't do great today. The Ariadne part, I mean. The rest of it was fine. But I won. I beat 2 Blue Eyes, PEPE, and Despots. So I'm pretty happy about that too. So pretty good day overall. I mean, I didn't get all the cards I needed, but I got some of them. So there's 1 or 2 proxies in this deck, but I'll tell you about them when I get to them. So let's get into the deck profile. About time. 3 PEPE Sork. It's the best Performapal Pendulum monster by far. It makes some crazy plays, and it's the only reason you run the Performapals in any deck anymore. Then we've our 1 Joker, which is of course at 1 now, but it's the second best that's available. Second Donkey is a weaker version of Joker. The fact it's not a pendulum monster, it's lower attack. However, and it needs both scales in play. That can be a bit restrictive, although it does get its effect on special summon, and it's another good Performapal card that you can search, and then searches more for you, so you can make little cool plays with them. Then we have our one-offs, Lizard Draw and Gui. These are fine at 1. I never needed the second. I never wanted the second, and I'm glad I didn't run the second, because they would have clogged most likely. They were pretty good throughout the day, and they're pretty good targets for Performapal Pendulum Searcher. You can grab both of these and draw 2 cards, whilst also keeping a 6 scale, which isn't always a good thing. Sometimes you don't want to be on the scale, but most of the time that's pretty decent. So yeah, I did run Silverclaw, no Radish Horse. I do own a Radish Horse now. I got one, but I'm glad I ran Silverclaw over it, simply because I never needed Joker to be a 1 card out to anti-spell. It never happened. I never got anti-spelled, and I don't think I would have needed it. Silverclaw, however, being a 5 scale, was really clutch in a few situations, and if I'd been maining Radish Horse and no Silverclaw, I would have probably lost a couple of games that I won. Then for Odd Eyes Performapals, you just run the 1 of each. I actually used Unicorn's scale effect, which was quite surprisingly powerful today. It helped me steal a game against BAPK, which I wouldn't have won. He had a pretty unbreakable board, but I managed to pendulum summon a couple of cards out, including this Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, and attack over a Levere, using this card's effect to boost this guy to ridiculous amounts of damage, because of its effect doubling damage. So I done quite a lot and broke through for game, even after winning, he still had a way better board than me. So yeah. 1 of each is all fine. It gives me the perfect amount of targets I need. I'll never resolve it a 3rd time. And if I do, I can always actually grab the Odd Eyes Fusion, which I'm also running. I do side a 2nd Unicorn. This is because when I go against decks that Intoria Beast, which is the point of this deck, or this build, isn't good against, I want to be able to side in just generally good PEPE cards that are good for engine and keeping my consistency. 3 Abductor and 1 Veiler. I actually used Abductor's monster effect in order to search a level 1 spellcaster so many times throughout the day. Never needed the 2nd Veiler, but it helped me negate a Deskbot 003, a Sage of the Blue Eyes, and a Tour Guide of the Underworld. All 3 times, the Veiler was so good. I searched off Abductor on my first turn. It was so good that I'm so happy that I made just the 1 copy of Veiler. It was really quite amazing. And then I, of course, resolved Abductor's Effect a Pendulum, or Search a Pendulum, so many times. It was great. It's amazing that even without Bunbuku, I was able to search Kieran's nearly every match. Nearly every game, in fact, but every match at least. I was able to search Kieran, and so make silly, stupidly strong boards. Then I run the Draco Pals. I run only 2 Master. I didn't think I needed the 3rd. This deck is super tight on space, so I had to cut something. And I never needed the 3rd, thankfully. But it was the decision on cutting that I was the most unsure about. So I would possibly, in another build of this deck in the future, run a 3rd Master, but for now I'm actually siding it. For the same reason I'm siding the 2nd Unicorn, my bad, Necros Fever, is because I want just decent engine cards to be able to bring in against decks that Nichori Beast is not great against. Then I run the 1 Elector and 1 Vector, and I'm happy I ran these like that. I don't think I'd ever needed the 2nd Vector. In fact, I'm pretty sure I will never need the 2nd Vector. It's very rare that it would come up that you want a painful decision for a Vector over a Master. Maybe it might come up, but I don't think it's worth the inconsistencies for those weird situations. Then we have our 1 Kieran and 1 Archfiend Eccentric, which are our boss monster, so to speak, and I'm saying that like this. And our out 2 silly cards. This outed Rivalry of the Warlords today, which I searched this off Abductor, and then outed Rivalry of the Warlords, and Kieran was searched so many times off Abductor and put on the board in so many good ways all throughout the day. I used it with the Joker to get lots of searches off Joker and lots of, advantage, whilst also stopping my opponent's play so many times. Kieran is a very difficult card to play around, and yeah, definitely always worth the spot. And I should point out also that I've only got 2 high scales, and every time that I played today, Kieran was able to be summoned, so it's fine. The 2nd Unicorn and the 3rd high scale are not always so necessary. Then we have the 1 Palomoru in the main. In the Brilliant Fusion build, this is still kind of consistent, because you get your 2nd normal summon, and that 2nd normal summon helps you get this pretty consistently. Nichori Beast is a great card, so having that consistently is quite good. Lazuli, or I'm not quite sure what the name is in English, because this is a French version. It's called Lapis Lazuli. But yeah, that 1 card is quite amazing. And of course, I'm going to talk about the Mask Chameleon too. With this card, you can do some silly plays like make Seraphinite, add Master back, have the extra normal summon. Then you have 2 normal summons, and you can normal summon Joker, make plays, get King of the Furlimps on board, Pendulum summon Pendulum Sorcerer, still make plays, and at the end of it, use your King of the Furlimp to search Mask Chameleon for your 2nd normal summon, make Nichori Beast, and say, do you have the out to your opponent? If they say no, you win, and most of the time they'll say no. Sometimes they won't, but even if they do have the out, you still have a pretty damn good board. So yeah, all this stuff, all these 3 cards, which I like to call the Nichori Beast trio, they were quite amazing. So yeah, or they weren't quite amazing because I didn't play this deck today, so that's a kind of a lie. But they are pretty amazing because I've tested them online, and they're pretty damn good. 3 Brilliant Fusion, of course. The true definition of a power card has a picture of a Brilliant Fusion next to it. It generates hand advantage, it generates field advantage, and it gives you some cool things like an extra normal summon. Yeah, and also I am actually putting this in my extra for the time being. I'm thinking about taking it out for Roach, but the Ghost Emperor after you Brilliant Fusion the first time to Brilliant Fusion the second time is perfectly good play. I mean, it's pretty damn real. Happens a decent amount. So yeah, 3 Brilliant Fusion, 2 Scars. I didn't need a 3rd. Didn't feel I needed the 3rd. I have 3 Terraforming, so that's pretty much 5 copies of Scars that I can draw, and this deck does draw quite a lot. But yeah, the chance of seeing this pretty much every game is really damn high. So yeah, I was fine with 2 Scars. I needed to cut a couple of cards someplace, so it ended up being the Master, the 2nd Unicorn, and the 3rd Scars. So yeah. Then we have 3 terraforming, and I still don't have 3, but I have 2 of the 3 that I needed. So no more 2 proxy terraformings, but I will need to get a 3rd. Until then, yeah, 3 terraforming. It was good. I like the ratio. You never needed to search a 3rd Skyers with the 3rd terraforming. That never comes up, and if it does come up, you kind of gotta wonder. That's just kind of such bad luck that you might as well just admit defeat right there, because you're never gonna see that. And 1 Draco face-off, you know, that's also a pretty damn good power card. 1 instant fusion. I run Nodin. It's a good card. It's a really good card. If you can resolve a full Nodin and make a 1 card exceed out of this without using a normal summon, then it's amazing. If the best you can do is, you know, just summon a Norden and use it as with no targets and not use its Norden's effect and just overlay it like that, it's still a good card because you're not using your normal summon, and for 1,000 life points, you know, a level 4 is decent. So yeah, it's pretty good, and it's also, you know, Abductor works well with Abductor. Painful Decision worked pretty well today. Odd Eyes Fusion, I resolved it once for the free Vortex and it was good. I never saw it other than that. I only ever summoned Vortex once, so it was okay. What else can I say about it? 1 Upstart Goblin. It's Upstart Goblin. There's not really all to say about a card that says draw a card. And Ignite Reload, which was the MVP. By far today, this won me 2 games. I can say that without a shadow of a doubt that this card won me 2 games. I saw it twice, and twice it delivered. I don't know if there's ever going to be a situation where it's bad outside of drawing bad cards, but usually when you're shuffling in bad cards, you're not going to be drawing more bad cards, and if you do, you kind of say, well, whatever, you know, it's no different than it was before. So yeah, that's 40 card main deck. Let's get into the extra deck quickly. 1 Ignister and 2 Dinosaur. Dinosaur did come up the second time. It actually came up with the 3rd. I actually wanted to make a 3rd Dinosaur on 1 occasion. However, I made something else and it was just as fine, so I would never run the 3rd. 1 Vortex and then your 2 materials for it. I summoned Vortex once and it was okay. It shuffled back a problematic card, and I didn't use its negate effect because my opponent scooped. But he probably scooped knowing I could negate something with Vortex. So yeah, that's it for the Odd Eyes and Draco Slayer extra deck parts. 1 Seraphonite, and trust me, I'm pretty pissed off that this is a proxy, simply because I was actually meant to be getting it today. I was expecting the person who's selling it to be in locals today, but he never showed up. So yeah, I'm sorry guys, that's a Seraphonite, and you gotta trust me that I'm getting one. 1 Elder or Entity Norden. It was for instant fusion. It's a pretty good card. 1 Notorious Beast. Yeah, I think it's pretty disgusting in gold as well, but yeah, pretty good card. Really problematic for a lot of decks to deal with, especially things like Blue Eyes. But yeah, Notorious Beast, pretty much the point of the Brilliant Fusion engine, if I'm honest. 1 Magister, 1 King of the Fairlamps. King of the Fairlamps is super important in this deck because it searches Palomaru, it searches Mass Chameleon, and they're your 2 tuners that you make Notorious Beast with, so you need your King of the Fairlamps. And aside from that, it's good. It can search Lizard Draw, so if you cannot make a Notorious Beast or you side out your Notorious Beast stuff, you can still search Lizard Draw with this card on occasion. You know, it doesn't come up all that often, but it's there. 1 Castell. 1 Diamond Arrow to deal with stuff. 1 Dweller to BAPK and a few other decks. It's quite good against them. You're really always going to want a 1 Dweller, and 1 Digosterema, which I may replace with a Roach depending on how this deck goes. But yeah, so right now the only proxies I'm using are the Seraphonite and the 1 Terraform that I still need to get. Maybe replacing the Digosterema with a Roach, but I don't know if I will be. We'll see. Then we have our side deck, so let's get into that. 2 Fossil Dyna Pacifilios. You can summon this you can pendulum summon that card perfectly fine, and unless it restricts your plays that you'd make after the pendulum summon, maybe you want to make a rank 4 after your pendulum summon. Outside of that, it doesn't really conflict all that much. It forces your opponent out your big board, which is difficult to do without special summoning. Against Blue Eyes, you can pretty much just make a board and then use this with your second normal summon, which you'll have gotten off of your Brilliant Fusion Seraphonite play. So if you have Brilliant Fusion Seraphonite and have this card in your hand, you can make stupid boards, and then at the end you can just be like, when your opponent's like, "Oh, are you done?" You can just normal summon this card, and like I said earlier, a lot of the times when you make like put a floodgate monster on the board like Notori Beast, you can ask your opponent, you know, can you out this? And if they say no, you win. And if they say yes, then they may win. But with this card plus Notori Beast, you don't even need to ask that question because they're not able to kaiju it, and there's not a lot of other really options to do. I mean, you could normal summon something and beat over this and then kaiju. But that's a rare situation. This card plus Notori Beast often equals good game. Then I have one Veiler. We run the one in the main. I like the second one in the side. Pretty good card. Not a lot really to say about it. 2 Maxi. Maxi's at 2. I like siding this in when I'm siding out the Notori Beast stuff, because it's just a generally good card, and it's good for going second, and Notori Beast is not so good for going second. Especially if they know you're playing that kind of build, they'll just activate their spell cards as soon as they get them, because they don't want to, have tons of spell cards in their hand for if Notori Beast comes, which it won't come, because, you'll have sided that stuff out. So, double Maxi. Then 1 Master, 1 Unicorn, and 1 Skyres, which, like I said, is for when you're siding out your engine and you just want more consistency cards. If you go against some rogue deck, or not even a rogue deck, if you go against a deck that you don't have the best side deck for, and Notori Beast is not great against them, you just want to bring in generally good, consistent engine cards. Especially when the Notori Beast engine is, 6 cards? I want to say 6 cards, because you got your Chameleon, you got your 3 Billion Fusion, your Lapis, and your Palmora, so 6 cards. If you're going against, say, something like BAPK, you might want to bring these in. Those 5 cards in, plus, like, say, I don't know, like Shadow Mirror. So you want to bring these cards in, and you want the options to be able to bring in a wide array of decent cards, good engine cards, to replace the bad Notori Beast cards, because Notori Beast card isn't doing anything against BA. It's quite weak against them, actually. So, if when you're siding those out against decks that they're not good against, then you would just want to be having generally good engine cards to bring in. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm not repeating myself too much. If I am, I apologize. We got 1 Regeki, 2 MST, and 2 Twin. I explained in I think it was my Demise to Channel 9 video why I do this. This is pretty much brought in against, back row decks, Twin Twisters is, and against decks that run like 1 or 2 floodgates, like maybe they bring in anti-spells, or maybe they bring in Rivalry or Goes and Match or some card like that. Then you bring in the space. So yeah, it gives you an option, or you could bring in all 4 if you're against like a deck that doesn't run back row, which is perfectly reasonable. You might want a lot of back row destruction. And then for our 3 trap cards, we run 3 different floodgates. Soul Drain's first off at 1, so you can only run 1, meaning I'm cutting over my words again. You can only run 1 Soul Drain, otherwise I'd run 2 plus Mistake, or maybe run 3. This is for BAPK and Mermails. Mermails are still, they're floating there. You encounter Mermails every so often. They're actually quite good, and quite popular as well, especially in my country. They're really popular. So you do want Soul Drain. And Shadow Imprisoning Mirror is kind of like a Soul Drain for darks that costs less. And also stops the on-field effects. That's for BAPK and other dark decks, although when thinking about it, Soul Drain's still probably more useful just because it deals with other decks that aren't dark. So I picked 1 and 1 and then 1 of Mistake. Mistake is really quite good, but you never want to see a second. Mistake is kind of there if you're going first in like games 2 or 3 and you're against a deck that searches a lot. So you just make your plays, you search all your cards, and then you put down the Mistake at the very end of the play and hope they don't have an out to it. And if they do have an out to it, well, like I say with the Notori Beast and the Fossil Dino, they have an out, they have an advantage because they've outed your cards. But if they don't have an out, you win. So those are good cards to just put on the board and ask your opponent, do you have an out? If yes, well, okay, good, let's play on. If no, you win. So those are good cards. Yeah. That's it for my 40-15-15 brilliant PEPE deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm really thankful for the 100 subscribers again. So if you're subscribed to me, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to me, you could probably do that. I'd really appreciate if you subscribe to me. I upload content pretty much weekly, with quite a lot of videos last week as well, simply because I had a few decks to show off. I'm going to try and get Klee next week. If not, I'll sort something out. I might do Demise, Isanji or something like that. We'll see. So thank you guys very much for watching, and have fun.